This is Big Business with Sarah. This podcast guides you to finding what you desire most in life and business, because running a business is very much about your personal development. In this podcast, I'm sharing what my clients ask me and how I help them. Thanks for joining. Welcome back to Big Business with Sarah, the podcast for solopreneurs who are ready to take their business to the next level. And I'm your host, Sarah. And in today's episode, we're diving into the practical steps of building your very own personal brand. With the rise of automation tools and content duplication, AI, etc., it is very crucial to have a personal touch that sets you apart. And today I'll share with you 3 actionable steps on how to determine your personal brand and create impactful content online. So grab your pen and let's get started. So before we really jump to the practical tips is to really quickly revisit why building a personal brand matters in today's digital landscape. So with the prevalence of automation tools and the ease of replicating content, I'm seeing so many posts, and I know that they're all designed in Canva and they all look the same, maybe a little different font, but I mean, it is really more important than ever to stand out from the crowd, because everybody can, just easily copy paste, these ChatGPT prompts that you can buy for 20 euros or dollars, and then you can, kind of copy and paste, really the same things and all over and over again. And, it's totally fine, but everybody sees that, right? So everybody sees that something is from ChatGPT or is absolutely not yours. So how can you establish yourself as a unique voice? How can you gain trust and recognition from your audience? Well, that's what is going to happen today and what we're going to talk about today. So today we're not going to talk about, your brand colors or maybe, flowers, if that's your thing or whatever. No, we're really talking about what you have to say. And I'm very excited to share this with you because this has been also really an adventure for me, because I always also really struggled to find my own voice. I first was also copying, and I think it's fine, to start with copying, but don't dwell too much into that. So I was also kind of copying, not too much, but, you have to find your voice. And actually, I used, quote unquote, this podcast also to find my voice, right? So, that's also maybe an extra tip that I want to give you firsthand, is that you find a way in how you can find your voice also, because it can't be that you already know your entire voice, right? So I'm currently helping one of my clients, which I spoke about in one of the earlier episodes, on how to publish her book. And obviously this is really a way in how she is, establishing also her personal brand. Obviously it's very much about her technique and theory and everything that she wants to share with the world, but in a way it's also personal brand, and it's really a process. So it does take time, but I'm getting into that. So tip number 1. I want to ask you to engage with your audience through surveys, social media interactions, DMs, even one-on-one conversations, to really gain a valuable insight on how people, how you appear to people, how people see you, but also to find out, what they want. So every time that So if you really understand your audience, they are going to feel like you're talking to them. And this is also something that is happening to me right now in my content, is that people are coming up to me, and quite easily, because I am directly speaking to them, because every time I'm creating content, also for instance this podcast, I'm thinking of you, and I have you in mind, and in this podcast, I'm always answering client questions, and I'm actually helping one of my clients in the Big Business Club. That is the follow-up program of the Big Business Mastermind. So if you've done the 3-month mastermind, you can join the club. It's a paid program for 1 year, and so it's more a level up. So I'm helping her create a signature program and her signature approach and how I can help her do that. So I also really believe that it starts, from what you have to offer, your personal brand. But so this was one of my clients' questions, actually. I should have introduced with that. But so that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is this is a nice one, actually, to craft a compelling brand story. So your brand story is what makes you relatable and memorable, right? If you're just sharing 10 tips for best automation tools, and then, Calendly, of course, I would put that definitely on number 1. It's such a shame they don't have an affiliate program, because I would have made so much money. But they know that they're great programs, so they don't need affiliates. But so not those. List, but start by really create something that is coming from you. So I want you to start by reflecting on your journey as an entrepreneur, and share the challenges you faced. Maybe you don't want to say yesterday I was bankrupt or something. Maybe you want to talk about that a little bit later in your content, but also the lessons you've learned, the transformations you have undergone. And I'm noticing that these posts are doing so well, in my timeline. So all the time I'm talking about myself. You don't have to do it all the time, obviously, but that always gets a lot of traction. So highlight the values and beliefs that drive you and that also align with your target audience. So, for me, I know that there's many people, and I saw another article again, who are very critical of coaches and everything. And actually my opinion and my vision on this is that not everybody can be helped, just by the school system or just by a psychologist or just by, just reading a book. No, actually some people actually do need help. And then, if there's, of course, there's horrific examples. Yeah, I mean, that's the risk of getting help, right? But this is also a risk when you're working with someone who's certified. Sometimes you just have no idea what could happen. And actually, what I find so interesting is that people are blaming the coach for something, that isn't entirely the coach's fault. And I think, I'm really against that, because, people who are writing that are obviously against it, and, also maybe have something, maybe also have something that they want to work on. I have no idea, if this is true, but I really have a strong opinion about this. Obviously, you're hearing me think whilst I'm saying this, because I want to really, really carefully pick my words, because I know that if I'm being too blunt in this, and my thoughts are quite blunt actually, but I don't want to transfer those immediately to you. But if I'm being completely honest, I think that it's really damaging for people. So. And I share that too. I'm sharing that, I also created a podcast episode about this, on why business coaching is really good and why it's very important. And, that most people just really want to help others. Of course, there are exceptions, but I'm noticing so much people that are afraid who are afraid actually of, diving into more possibility for their business, just because they think business coaches are bad. I think that's such a terrible shame, and that's because of those opinions in the newspaper and everything, or magazines. And I mean, if this is really a problem, then maybe we should fix it instead of being very very angry at people who are trying to solve it. So that's really my opinion. I'm sorry, but and this is actually what I mean, right? So you probably know that I am very much about this. If you're following me online, if you're following my content, and this is important that you know this, that you are weaving this narrative into your content. Whether it's through blog posts, videos, social media updates, your podcast. So your brand story will actually create an emotional connection with your audience, fostering trust and loyalty. And I'm kind of creating not purposefully, but I'm kind of creating a diversion, and I'm creating, if you're just posting vanilla content, vanilla being very boring, if you're just, posting something that everybody can agree with, then nobody's going to work with you, because people who want to work with you want to recognize their story into yours in some way or another. It doesn't have to be completely the same. You have to be a few steps ahead of them, of course, if you want them to work with you, because you're the expert. But if you're not being clear on that, how can they ever decide if they want to work with you? So tip number 3. I'm sorry for talking so much about the contents of my opinion, but it's just to show you also the example, right? So let's just keep it there. Number 3 is really having consistency in content creation. I'm not a big fan of ads, but I do believe in creating free content on free platforms. A way to do that is to be visible through consistent efforts. So develop a content strategy that aligns with your brand's message and values, but also your time, and determine also the platforms where your target audience spends their time, or that you really like to be in. So, of course, your target audience is everywhere, I believe. It's not like, on TikTok, there's no older people. Well, there are. Also create a schedule for regular content creation. Currently, I'm actually not really good in creating content. That's because I have a crazy schedule at the moment, also with a lot of free time, actually. And so, it's not as consistent as I want it to be, but it will come, I'm very, very sure. So you can either have, daily blog posts, weekly videos, or a mix of different mediums. Really stick to your schedule, unlike me, and provide, those valuable content consistently. And, it's always, like clockwork. If I have good content, then there will, my inbox is, not flooded with DMs, but I do receive a lot of DMs from people. If I just put myself out there, then I'm seeing that immediately in the response. And also last week's episode about being proactive is very much about that. So it's always when I'm putting myself out there, other people will come to me. It's incredible how this works. And so just wanted to share this with you. My bonus tip for you today, yay, and 4th tip is to leverage your unique skills and expertise. So identify the areas where you excel and the knowledge that you possess that sets you apart. So all those unique skills, everybody has a unique skill set, right? So I'm talking a lot about this in the Big Business Mastermind. I always want my clients to really find, what they are about, and actually that skill set is actually the cornerstone of your personal brand. And I want you to share your expertise through educational content, tutorials, workshops, and really position yourself as an authority in your niche by consistently delivering high quality and those valuable insights to your audience. So that really wraps this part up. So the first tip I gave you was to engage with your audience through find out what they need. Tip number 2 was craft a compelling brand story. Tip number 3 was being consistent in content creation, and my bonus tip was to leverage your unique skills and expertise.
And
And now it's time for one of your questions. So after last week's episode, I received a few questions actually, and talking about attracting messages from people, and being proactive. And I posted a video also on LinkedIn and actually all the social media. With a little snippet of the episode, and there was a few people also in the DMs, but also in the comments section asking, okay, Sarah, being proactive, yes, but how do I take that first step into approaching new clients? And one person asked me specifically, how do I get over myself in overcoming that fear? And so the first tip I want to give you is that recognizing that fear and self-doubt are very common when approaching new clients, right? It's not that everybody is thinking, yay, yes, new clients, I know exactly what to do. No, and you really challenge your negative thoughts and try to replace them with positive thoughts, positive things that you're saying to yourself, or if you want to call them positive affirmations. Really focus on your expertise and the value you can provide. And, remember that, and I've talked about this numerous episodes, all my episodes about sales are about this. Rejection is a very natural part of the process. So each no brings you closer to a yes, right? So I just created a little poster for in my home office. Actually, I'm looking at it right now, and that's where I'm going to write down all the offers that I made, and also check if I've received a yes or a no. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to send out as many offers as possible, because I want to challenge myself actually to collect as many no's as possible, because I know that is going to bring me closer to a yes. So if you want to do this as well, steal my methods. And if you want to receive the design for the poster, let me know. We will find a way in how I can give it to you. So the second tip I want to give you is to practice and role play. So practice your pitch and approach with your friend or colleague, right? So this will help you gain confidence, refine your messaging, and handle those potential objections, which you're really very probably going to get. If you're not getting any objections, I mean, that would be great, actually. But I think that maybe if it's too much of a no-brainer, maybe think of raising your prices. But I'm not really sure yet if I want to give you this advice, but it might be that. So, in role play different scenarios and prepare for those client interactions. The third tip I want to give you is to start with warm leads. So begin to reach out to warm leads, individuals who have shown previous interest or engaged with your content, or maybe if you're starting a new business, your old clients from your old business. And, this can make your initial approach feel less daunting and increase your chances of success. And then the fourth tip, and this is something that almost everybody forgets, is to follow up and nurture your relationships. Today in the Big Business Mastermind call, I talked about it again. Selling is building relationships. So after making the initial contact, follow up promptly and consistently. So be responsive and demonstrate your commitment to helping the clients. Don't all of a sudden crawl back and think, ooh, now it's a little bit scary. Now I might even make money. No, go for it. Stand on 2 feet and be very proud and confident of your ability. And then the fifth tip I want to share with you is, trust that you will get, you will improve much better. If I'm thinking back of, last year, also around this time, actually, my sales skills were horrible. And, the only way why it's much better right now is because I practiced, right? So evaluate your approach and learn from each interaction. Ask for feedback from clients, refine your strategies, adjust your pitch based on what resonates best with your potential clients. And really, the more you practice and learn, the better you will become at approaching new clients. Now, I have a question for you. So my question for you today is to start working on your brand story. You know, what is your story? Where have you started? What have you studied? What did you like to do as a child? What is something that has really changed your life? What are people that inspire you? Which books inspire you? And you know what? I mean, there are so many things that you can think about, right? So there's all the things that you love. You know, for instance, if you're following me for a long time, you know that I'm a big Spice Girls fan. You know that I've read the book 7 Habits of Very Effective People a lot. You know, I like radical responsibility. So, you know, there are so many things that you can add into your personal brand basket. And yeah, so I want you to write the story and to create 10 pieces of content around that. And then, you know what, you can post one part of the story every week. So you have 10 weeks of content, of one story and 10 weeks of content. And then you have to do this with 6 other things. And then there you have 10 weeks of everyday content. So that is how easy it actually is to create content. So that's my homework for you today, creating that personal brand story or your brand journey or however you want to call it. And thank you so much for listening. And I'm very much hoping to hear from you again next week. Have a happy day. Thank you for listening to Big Business with Sarah. If you've enjoyed today's episode, leave a 5-star review and hit subscribe. If you're ready for your next step in business, you can find out how to work with me in the show notes. Do not forget to submit your coaching question for one of my next episodes. Have a happy day.